back, everybody, to Next Play. Sean Miller, Archie Miller here, back at you guys here to talk a little basketball and bring a few things to the table I think that would be really, really interesting to watch as the season continues to unfold. It's been a great college basketball run here in early January as a third of the conference play has really gotten going. Seems like we've gotten over the hump of the major cancellations with COVID, and we're sort of back into a good groove right now. And, last night or the last few nights, it's conference play is really starting to get going. And I think, Sean, one of the things that we talk a lot about is to win a conference championship. You're going to have to find different ways on different nights to win games on the road. It's very difficult. And we've talked a lot about the Big 12 being college basketball's premier league this year. And as it stands right now, the league is at an unprecedented level defensively, and their programs all are in contention to do big things in March. Every one of them, really, with the exception of Oklahoma State right now, who's doing a great job competing as well. But right now, as it stands, all league teams in the Big 12 are in the top 65 of the net. And because they're all playing one another right now, probably only going to continue to go up. And what that means is kind of what we said early in November. If you do your work early in November with non-conference, when you get into a league like the Big 12, you're going to be in business for seeding and tournament bids. But because they have every team in the top 65 of the net, that means that every time they play a conference game, in particular on the road, it's a quad one opportunity. That means every team in the league who's playing every night is getting those opportunities for marquee, not only resume wins, but losses in some cases that actually don't even penalize you. And I think last night, Baylor and Kansas, as their quest is to win the Big 12, both came up with unbelievable road wins. Baylor at West Virginia, last 4 minutes, they win the game going away. Kansas, in a different situation, Oklahoma was in a dogfight with Oklahoma, and it came down to them being tied and down quite a bit in the last 4 minute segment. And one of the things I think that's really interesting is to watch how Bill Self in Kansas played out that last 4 minutes for a huge road win at Oklahoma last night. And we're going to be able to talk through a few things here, but Kansas won that game in the last 4 minutes because, as you like to say, situational basketball. They took advantage of time and score. They also took advantage of their timeouts, getting their best player involved to have a chance to win that game in a possession by possession, which at the end of the day is going to be a huge notch in their belt as they're able to kind of climb the ladder for another Big 12 title as they compete for it. So I think I'll let you go. We'll bring up this Kansas, Oklahoma last 4 minute. We used to call them 10 4-minute wars, and the 10th 4-minute war is the one that it comes down to in conference play a lot of the times. And this one was really to no exception.
Yeah, and Arch, to clarify the 10 4-minute wars, every college basketball game has immediate timeout. It's the first dead ball under a 4 minute segment. So if you break it down, you're going to have 5 of those 4 minute segments in the first half, and then you're going to have 5 more in the second half. In particular, if you do the research on that, most of your games in conference, especially if you're vying for the conference championship, it'll come down to that 10th 4 minute segment, and that would be what we called the 10th war, the final war of the game. And, the team that wins the most of those 10 4-minute segments wins the game most of the time. And when I say most of the time, over 15 years that we looked at it, I would say about 92% of the time, if you win more 4-minute segments than your opponent, you'll win the game. Now, some of those segments could be you win 10-2, you may follow that up and lose 6-0, but it's that consistency over the 40-minute game that the best teams have. Last night, to set the tone, Kansas is down 4 points entering that last 4 minute segment, the 10th war.
All right,
So
are we
Arch,
good?
to set the tone, this is coming after the media timeout. This is
Yep.
that 10th war, the 10th 4 minute segment of the game. And notice Oklahoma is up by 4 points. But the way that I look at it is it's kind of like its own separate game, Arch. It's like a game to 8 points. Sometimes you look back and it's, the score of the last 4 minute segment is more than 8 points. But if you think about that, every possession means more. There's more fouls called. But what you're really trying to do offensively is get quality shots. And those usually mean taken by your best player. And nobody does that better than Bill Self.
So I think, this first clip, right out of the timeout, down 4, they're going to go side out of bounds. A lot of teams will just get the ball in bounds, as you know, and then they'll run their play. Very few teams in college are going to run side out of bounds off the action to score. But I thought it was interesting to come out of the timeout, and you can kind of see this first clip. They isolate Abaji on a quick high field where they're flaring over the top. They bring the 5-man up top with the flare. They occupy the ball side corner. They have Brown taking the ball out of bounds, and they put their best offensive player, a perimeter player, in a high side situation. And you can say they lift the floor, and they tried to go right at them out of bounds to get a quick basket out of a timeout, and it draws a foul.
Which is so important.
Right.
Because they weren't in the bonus, and they're going to therefore get to the bonus one foul earlier. But the other point is Oklahoma on side out of bounds defense denies. They're chin on shoulder. They're trying to get a 5-second count. They're man to man. And if you notice number 2 here for Oklahoma, he does a pretty good job there of holding, but he goes all the way to the ball side corner, and notice like all 4 defenders out on the court, they're playing no catch. So it's a great design. And again, it didn't lead to a basket, but it led to that foul. So Kansas is 1 for 1. By the way, Abaji is their best offensive player, and Brown is their best passer in this situation.
Right. So this play leads to underneath out of bounds offense, right back to back. And this was a great design with the close the gate or the elevator action. But the bottom line is they go right out of bounds to score to their best player again. He, at that point in time, he wasn't scoring a ton, which gives you the credit to Bill Self saying we're going to our best player regardless of how his game is going. But he goes right back to the action, to their best player underneath out of bounds. And you can kind of see the design here as it gets ready to go.
Notice the screen when they pinch the defender off, they close the gate. Boom, 2 great screens, but you have to make the shot, right? Arch, he misses it. Notice the score. Again, nothing's changed, but so now he's called his number twice. Obviously, Abaji delivers because he's a terrific player. On this one, Abaji is now the inbounder.
Right.
And he starts to run across. Number 55 from Oklahoma, worried about the lob, him curling for a lob, which you always have to worry about when you play Kansas. And it turns into a wide open 3-point shot off a flare screen. Again, a very good design. Got to give McCormick credit for setting a great screen, and all plays only work if the shooter makes the shot. So he goes back to back clutch 3-point shots.
It's funny, very few times, but they go side out of bounds 2 and underneath out of bounds 1 for baskets. It's not throw the ball in bounds and let's get a good shot. It's score right away off the action, and 2 big threes by him. That's why right now he's got to be player of the year in the league. So right now it's a tie ball game with about 90 seconds to go. And in this one right here, they sort of get into their flow offense. And as you can tell, they don't panic. And he's not calling timeout. He's relying on his offense. And you can see they kind of run their offense under control. They get a long closeout by a center on Jalen Wilson, which is a mismatch, and he doesn't settle. He draws another foul, which was big because at the end of the day, he had to go to the line on this one with 1:33 to go. And you can kind of tell that they got a mismatch on their flow out of
4
transition.
consecutive possessions, foul, 3-point shot, 3-point shot. They're 4 for 4 after the last media timeout on offense.
Yeah, and then this one, he makes both free throws to go up 2. Now, I thought this was a great deal by Porter Moser. It's right after the free throw. They're down by 2, and Porter Moser calls a set play himself. And he goes with a little step-up action, guard on guard, which is going to require communication. And like a lot of people, they go screen or slip out. They clear the side for Jordan Goldwire and need a basket, need a foul. Porter Moser draws up a clear out on the side of the floor, and it wipes everybody out, and he gets fouled. So he goes to the line here, and he's able to tie the ball game at 60. But again, think about the situation that occurs. They were up 4, now they're down 2. And I thought Oklahoma did a really good job right here, coming back and trying to draw a foul more importantly than anything. But they slip him out, they get a layup, he goes to the line, and it's 60-60 now with Kansas ball.
And again, Arch, to kind of clarify the 10th war, that last 4-minute segment of the game, remember, I think it was 56-52 Oklahoma. So right now, Kansas is +4 to have the game tied up here with 1 minute to go. So now let's keep going. Now, this is their 5th opportunity since the media timeout.
Right. So they come right back off of those 2 free throws with a set play. And for the 3rd time in a row, Bill Self's going to draw up a quick, what we would call magic action or a stagger handoff. And he's going to clear it out for Agbaji to get a drive. It's a great play design because not only do they get the magic action, but you can tell their point guard is almost doubling it with the undercut. So they're clearing it out, almost confusion. And Agbaji all the way downhill, 2 more points on another set play.
Can you be efficient? Can you get your best player shots? So right now, Agbaji's gone 3-point shot, 3-point shot, 2-point drive. And remember, he also got the crucial foul, which started all of this off. But keeping track now, Kansas has had 5 offensive possessions since that initial media timeout. They're 5 for 5 in scoring or getting fouled.
So Oklahoma went down. There was a broken play, and they were able to secure an easy 2-point shot with about 30 seconds to go to tie the ball game up. So they called timeout, if I'm not mistaken, in this last possession. Probably had a set play call, and
They came out in the 1-3-1.
And they came out and showed zone.
Yeah, and then went to man. And again, why would Porter Moser do that? Because of what you and I are talking about. He's feeling right now that Kansas is in a rhythm coming out of timeouts. So he tried to just, if nothing else, keep them off balance, change the game for Bill Self a little bit. So it's not just a straightforward man-to-man. So it's 1-3-1, and then Kansas has to stop for a second and ask, are they going to stay in 1-3-1 or go man-to-man? So they go 1-3-1 look to man-to-man. So it kind of takes them out of a rhythm. And now Kansas has to play basketball and really run their flow game. No set play here.
Right. So you can tell they didn't pause. They didn't reset. They just kept playing. And what a big shot.
Huge shot. That wasn't a set, but I thought what it represented, Arch, is what you mentioned. Kansas did not panic. They were poised. They were confident. But the streak's still alive, right? Now they've had 6 offensive possessions, and they've either gotten fouled or scored on all 6 possessions.
Yeah.
Now here's the other one, up 3. And now Kansas is going to foul intentionally so that Oklahoma cannot tie the game with a 3-point shot. Kansas almost does not execute here. They fouled late. And before you show it, Arch, what I don't like about this, even though it ended up working, you never want to foul intentionally when the offense has the basketball right on the 3-point line. Because all that offensive player has to do at the last second is rise for a shot. And now you fouled him in the act of shooting versus fouling him on the court. And, what we like to do is foul right at that 10-second half-court line. I would say the benefit that Kansas got by waiting so long is the clock went from 11 and it really gets down here. So just kind of watch that. But again, back to execution. Oklahoma needs a 3-point shot to tie. There's the foul late. They don't get a 3-point shot up, though. That's the bottom line. They can't tie the game.
Right. So what happens is they go to the foul line. He makes both free throws. It's a 1-point game. And this is the situation that you deal with when you try to choose to foul, is that now you have to inbound the ball against pressure. And first opportunity to take the ball out of bounds for Kansas. Thought Oklahoma did a really good job of making it difficult and got a deflected ball. But their press offense here, as you can see, they break.
The other part with Bill Self is he has a timeout. Like right now, the inbounder's not in dire straits with no timeout. Kansas has 1 timeout left. Again, more credit given to Kansas, a team who knows how to win late in games.
And, one of the points I think we make all the time as we're coaching our players is when you're in these situations inbounding the ball and a guy is running to get the ball 1,000 miles an hour to catch it, always lead him with a bounce pass.
That's right.
You throw an air pass to a guy running 1,000,000 miles an hour with a guy chin on shoulder, not only can he deflect it off of you, steal it, but he could also make a very uncomfortable catch for the guy running to the ball where he could bobble it and it can turn it over. So big point that we always used to make in these situations is press offense. You're looking to run the baseline if you have it and lead with a bounce pass. They're always easier to catch, harder to steal. On this one, the inbounder gets lucky. That's a 50-50 play right there. Oklahoma made it difficult, but it's back to Kansas ball. So now they have 4.9 seconds. It's a dead ball press offense. They're not allowed to run. They do have a timeout available, and they go with the old football play here, which guys are running now 4 across the baseline, and they're going to run routes.
He fell down. And again, that's what's great about having a timeout available, so that any type of confusion, sometimes that happens, a guard falls down, that timeout is crucial. Instead of it being Oklahoma's ball, Kansas has another crack at it.
Right. So now they have to take the ball out the length 3rd time in a row. And this is what you can get in with when you foul. This inbound can be very, very difficult. That's why your special teams and your press offense has to be great end to game, because this could change the flow of a game with a turnover. So they're going to take it out again after the turnover. This is his 3rd inbound play full court, was his 3rd different press offense alignment. Can't run. And again, he gets lucky with that air pass.
Yep, bounce pass.
Because they're shooting the gap hard for the steal. Always try to lead the guy full speed to the baseline with a bounce pass. Easier to catch, harder to steal. But he does get it, and they do foul. So now Kansas.
And Arch, I want to go back. Could you show that again?
Yep.
The other part is, if you watch Brown here, and something that a long time ago, as the ultimate slow player who's a point guard, me, playing in the Big East Conference, trying to get open against quicker players or in these crucial situations, when Brown sets the screen on number 2, like, you don't set the screen, stop, and then just run full speed to the baseline, because you've already said it twice. The defender who's desperate is running foot, and he's matching your speed, and it's all of a sudden the inbounder, it becomes a deflected pass. He's not getting open. As soon as he sets the screen on number 2, what he should do is flip his hips and block him out. Stop, hold him, and then now you negate his speed, and then you break straight back to the ball instead of screen and cut. It's screen, stop, box out, be physical, hold, and then break the catch. And then the pass should be a bounce pass. Hopefully Bill Self's listening. If we could just give him one tip, he got 999 out of 1,000 covered. Throwing a bounce pass would be something I would highly recommend.
It is, as a guard who's broke back 1,000,000 times to get the ball when they're going to foul you, it's hard to catch that air pass.
It's a bad feeling. It's a bad feeling. A bounce pass is easier to catch, but if you block out first, use his momentum against him, it's easier to receive that bounce pass as well. But look, we're talking about Kansas, whether they needed 3 times to get the ball in or not. They got the ball in, used the timeout, no turnovers. And then if you look at the score, they made free throws.
They made the 2 free throws to keep it back at 3. So the plan of fouling, having to inbound, and then go back to the line puts it at 4 seconds. Now,
So this is a good one.
One question to ask you: with 4 seconds to go, is Kansas going to foul again?
I don't think so, because if you think about a catch by number 1, Arch, with 4 seconds left, how many dribbles does whoever
4
receives this pass? That's right.
Dribble a
I think
second.
that's something we talked a lot about to our players. If it's 4.7, I would say you have 4 dribbles. If it's 4.0, you have 4 dribbles. If it's 3.2, you have 3 dribbles. But looking at that, I think you overcomplicate the game. Like if a guy makes a 55-foot shot to tie it, guess what? We'll go to overtime. What you don't want is a good 3-point shot. And I think you have Oklahoma where you want them. But what I would now call this is shadow. So what Kansas does a great job of here is the inbounder is not guarded, right?
Right.
But if you think about the player that is guarding him, I would say it's Brown. And in a sense, they kind of have 2-on-1 defense, and they keep the basketball in front of them. So notice Oklahoma does not even get the ball across half court. They almost build like a picket fence against them. And if you notice, it's a catch. You know, if he wants to throw the ball up the court, he can't. Throws it to the inbounder. It's matched. Look, 5-on-5, count them up. Everybody has a man. And now, great job. It's a 55-foot shot. That was a great win, but that was as well coached, disciplined, hard fought, well executed win as a team can have. Like you said, Arch, every game in the Big 12 this year on the road is a quad 1 victory away from home. Those are like gold. Kansas, I know their goal is to win the Big 12. This was a step in the right direction. Hard fought. Go back to Abaji's scoring opportunities. And how about Brown's 3-point shot? And am I right? I don't think Kansas had a single possession where they didn't get fouled or
come up
scored.
empty. They did. Yeah, they went the entire 4-minute period, scored
15 points.
Yeah.
So back to that initial score, and I don't know if you could show it right now, but I think it was 56-52. So if you add that up, Kansas, there it is. Kansas had 15, and Oklahoma ended up with 11. I think it was 15. Looking at the last clip, 10, right?
15-10 down the stretch.
So that's what it would look like in the locker room. You know, you could walk in there and say, look, fellas, like we've talked about all year long, in the Big 12 on the road, all games are tough. We're playing in America's best conference. As a reminder to you, when we left our media timeout and entered that 10th war, we were down 4 points. You know what? Everyone in the locker room is going to look up at you and say, really? We were down 4? Yeah. Didn't feel like it because they were so composed. They're so used to it. But that last war was won 11-5, right? I'm sorry, 15. What did we say? 15?
15-10.
15-10. You win the war 15-10. No, that's wrong, Arch. We can't even add.
It was 56-52. So you got 67-64 as our final. So can you add that up?
Yeah, 50, that's 11, right? Kansas had 11. No, Kansas had 15 because they had 52. So Kansas has 15 points, right?
15, 15. And then Oklahoma had 15-8 on the last one.
I'm sorry, that's that. Yeah, two guys, but we're bad at that. 15-8 though. And I think that's the method. And that's something that's so important to give to your team, Arch, because we won the last war 15-8. We were down 4 entering the last war. This was a great victory. And what that sets the tone for Kansas is the next game, even at home, so that they get accustomed to thinking that the 10th war is theirs. and that these are all going to be hard fought games the remainder of the year. Trust me, they already know that, but I think it's a great way of selling it to a young group of players.
Yeah, and Big 12, like we said, I mean, at the end of the day, Kansas is playing for not only the championship of the conference, but they're playing for a 1 seed. That win right there just bolsters the resume. Kansas right now is 8-2 versus quad 1-2 on the season. The only team in America that has more quad 1-2 wins is Wisconsin with 10, which is incredible, the year Wisconsin is having. But Baylor and Kansas both have 8 quad 1-2 wins on their resume. They're both heading for 1 seeds. They both won crucial road games yesterday as they continue to do that. So I think that was a great situational thing. And so many games come down to that last 4 minutes. And it's impressive to watch Kansas get baskets. I mean, they scored baskets.
One team that doesn't come down to the last 4 minutes ever is Gonzaga. And right now, the reason is, and we want to move to the next chapter here today, and that is what I think is an historically great offense. And I think it's a moment in time that a lot of people will talk about as we move forward here with college basketball. And that is Mark Few, and Tommy Lloyd was there for a number of years, but their staff in Mark Few, what they've done offensively has always been excellent. But in 2019, I want to just share this because I think it's worth noting. I think that they took something that was already really refined and done extremely well as an offensive system, and they made it more fluent and faster. In 2019, Gonzaga went 33-4. They were the number 1 Ken Palm offensive team in America. But they also had the number 1 2-point percentage in America. You follow that up in 2020, they had come back and they have the number 1 offense in America, and they're number 2 in 2-point percentage. You may say, well, Sean, they might have had a lot of returners. So let's say between 2019 and 2020, they had virtually the same group. Well, I'm going to now go to 3 years in a row. 2021, a year ago, they had the number 1 offensive team, and historically their overall best offensive team ever. Number 1 in college basketball, Ken Palm, number 1 2-point field goal percentage on the season. That's 3 years in a row now. And then now where they're at this year is they're a little bit below their overall numbers from a year ago, but they're currently sitting at the number 2 offensive team. And they have the number 1 2-point field goal percentage offense in America. That's 4 consecutive years, Arch. Their tempo, if you go back to 2019, it was 62, and then it went to 35, and then it went to 7 a year ago. Right now it's at 3. So I think they've always played a fast pace. Never have they played at a faster clip. Never have they scored better close to the basket. And they have now been the dominant offensive team in college basketball for 4 consecutive years. So if you said, well, what do I mean about refining it and what are they doing that's so exceptional? I think we have a good way of showing Gonzaga playing offense. Arch, there's really 3 phases to Gonzaga's offense. And, you can't underestimate the first phase. We've shown transition clips with some of our previous edits when we've talked about players, but as a team, Gonzaga's pace, like we talked about, is as fast as anybody in college basketball. And their system has become faster in the last 4 years, as I talked about with some of those numbers. Again, point guard pushing, always a threat at the rim. That time, Drew Timme, he doesn't post. He almost beats the team down the court. But again, look where the ball is. And Arch, this is against Texas Tech, who we know is one of America's best defensive teams. But that last clip was a made field goal. So they're going to push the ball fast on a make or miss. And some of their best 3-point shots, like for example, if you go back to that clip, we're showing you Texas Tech versus Gonzaga here. This is a great defensive team. They've proven that. But in the first two clips here that we're showing, it's almost like they're not trying, right? It's not that, it's the pace is at them at such a fast level that they don't get matched up and wide open, uncontested threes. So, we've shown a rim run. We've shown 2 3-point shots. Here's defense to offense. Chet Holmgren, great job off a shot block. And guess what? They're not just running to the 3-point line. They'll also get you at the rim. Now, this is one of their favorites, which is hit the trailer, or the trailer in this case has the ball earlier, and they just go high to low. Notice this, as I set the tone. Gonzaga has 2 people on the right side. That's their 2 side. And they have a third guard on the left side. That's their 1 side. Their guards in both their transition game and their flow occupy those spots. The 2 bigs, the 4 and the 5, they occupy the trailer, which Chet Holmgren has, and then the rim runner, which is Drew Timme. And again, the other part, it's not just fast pace shooting threes, but it's also high-low basketball, which is always a threat for a foul. And you see right there, jump hook against Alabama. Okay, stop. So if you think the first phase that I showed is Gonzaga pushing the pace on makes and misses, creating uncontested threes, their spacing is what I just described. And do not underestimate the direct entry, whether it's high, low, or the point guard directly to the rim runner, low post player, which we showed. Now, once you get back, and that's the first task, if you're defending them, then that 2 side and 1 side and some of their actions you can see. And they're really, really good at picking on the ball screen defensive coverages. So here's the 2 side, Drew Timme with almost like a pitch, a little handoff. He turns it into strong action, right, Arch? A rim run with a player behind. And you pick your poison. If Javon Quinterly stays in too long, the ball is going to be passed out for a 3-point shot. He tries to stay more on his own man. And great job here by Nembhard of, picking his dribble up, pivoting. And now look at the shot though. Look at the shot. So this is now half-court basketball, Gonzaga's flow game. You want to know why they're number 1 in 2-point field goal offense? Again, what's the first phase? First phase is the fast push. And now this becomes the second phase. Now they just get organized, and do not underestimate Drew Timme, and for that matter, Chet Holmgren, but especially Drew Timme's ability to pass. So remember we talked about the trailer and the low post in the middle of the floor? These are the actions. He's going to go to the 2 side where Gonzaga has 2 perimeter players. This time it's just a through cut backdoor. And it's a simple pass.
I think that's why at the end of the day, when you start talking about 2-point field goal percentage, a lot of people are going to assume that they have good big guys, where their big guys do a great job of scoring. I think the other thing that makes Gonzaga so interesting is their perimeter players, if they don't shoot a 3, are shooting a layup.
Yeah.
They're either shooting downhill layups off the dribble, they're making their own layups, but cutting as well. They shoot point blank layups 1 through 5, and the percentage is leading them to either take really good threes, post touches, or layups.
That's the one thing, Arch, if you stop, that I've learned this year is, 17-foot pull-ups. Look, if you're wide open, you're uncontested, and, some players are really good in that area of the court. In the NBA, Chris Paul and Devin Booker, they shoot a ton of 2-point, 15 to 17-foot shots, because that's what they're great at. But if you watch Gonzaga, they're catching it in the low post. They're shooting layups. They're shooting open 3-point shots. Part of what makes their 2-point percentage so strong, they don't take those tough, contested 15-foot twos or twos that are tough. And I have such a regret looking back. I wish I would have been more aware and coached that better because, in some ways, Arch, it's like a turnover. Although it doesn't go as a turnover in the stat sheet, it's a tough shot. And by the way, if it goes in, it only counts for 2, not 3. But right now, their efficiency has all these things weaved into how they play. But again, we're on the second phase of Gonzaga, their flow game. So again, they're spacing, right? The two bigs, they take that middle area, the tunnel. You have the 2 side over there. Notice the 2 side. We've shown him screen. We've shown him back cut. Now he screens in. Look at Chet Holmgren. He's looking high-low first. He chooses the 2 side. He slips, and he's a very good shooter. And this is the other thing now. Any type of pass to the roller, Gonzaga loves to cut. We played them in Maui a few years ago, and they really hurt our defense with this. But, this is their baseline cut. If you just watch and press stop right now, maybe one more second, stop. If they stand, Chet Holmgren could make a pass, but the price is maybe an open 3 or a one more pass. But they cut. And if you're going to hard hedge on the side versus Gonzaga, you're going to deal with this type of action all game long. Nobody cuts better than they do off of a roll. That was their baseline cut action. This is the other phase of their flow. So they started the possession with the set. And if a set doesn't create a shot, they're going to get right into their flow game. So this is still flow.
Texas Tech switching on this occasion here, guard on the 10.
Hey, I love the fact that we're showing Texas Tech. We're also showing Alabama because these are really good defensive teams, especially Texas Tech. But right now they get back into their flow. You'll see it here. But notice perimeter on perimeter, something else that Gonzaga does a great job. Their guards playing off of each other and sprinting away and moving on penetration. As you start to worry about the ball screen or the low post catches, all of a sudden one of their 3 perimeter players puts the ball on the court and they play off of each other extremely well. No different than a cut that we just showed on the previous clip. Again, that spacing, right? You got 2 side on the left. You got the 1 side on the right. First look here for Chet is high-low. In the middle third is where their bigs operate. Again, they replace each other. Now, again, the 2 sides on the right side, right? And now here we go again, back to Timmy. And again, Drew Timmy, excellent passer. When he's on the perimeter, he might not be a 3-point shooter, but he's just a very clever, smart player. So now they get him the ball in the low post here, right off the strong. Another good pass by Nembhard. Easy shot off the glass. Went to the 1 side, right? Didn't like it. Now they replace each other. There's that penetration I talk about. You can't sleep on it. Just when you keep worrying about the ball screens or a low post catch or a high-low, there are 3 perimeter players. Anytime that they drive the ball, they really do an outstanding job of playing off each other, and they drive to pass. They don't drive to take a tough 2. They drive to pass. And what does he create? An uncontested wide open corner 3, which I think the analytics on this shot, this might be one of the 2 or 3 best shots in basketball, an uncontested wide open corner 3-point shot.
Yeah, the difference between, really good players, really good teams is the ability to sacrifice challenge 2s for good 3s. It's hard for guys to decipher early, especially young guys. They want to drive to score. Against good defenses like Texas Tech, you're dealing with 5 bodies in the paint. And if you jump, you're going to charge, and he stride stops, he lands on 2, delivers good shot for Nembhard from 3.
Okay, now I'm sorry. This is the first set play. So we talked about their breakneck pace, which they're very efficient. And then the breakneck pace empties right into their flow game, the 2 side, the 1 side, the high-low between their 4 and their 5. And then after timeouts, notice this is the first play of the game here against Pepperdine. They love to run sets and they usually are going inside with their set plays unless they have a hot perimeter player. Here they sprint into a ball screen. Again, Nembhard does a really good job. Look at the shot they get.
When you're dealing with an aggressive coverage in the middle of the floor, I can't tell you how many teams can't take advantage of it. But when you deal with a team like Gonzaga, who knows what they're doing, if you recognize a blitz or a hard show or something in the middle of the floor with two on the ball, that roller going to the middle of the floor puts so much stress on those other three guys on defense in blue that you have to pick your poison. And the bottom line is you can't hold forever on
Right,
both.
because that's Strother is the shooter, Arch,
He's
and
a really good shooter.
he's lights out right now. I mean, you can't leave him open. So, you're right. They put two on the ball. They stay too long. And again, Nembhard's not a 5'11" point guard. He's big. He can see over people. But look at the shot. So now I wanted to show this because it's the same game. So this now becomes the first play of the second half. It looks like the identical play, except it's a trade. So remember on the first one, it was a strong action, which Strother was the shooter. There he is right in front of Pepperdine's bench. Now watch him. He's going to go.
So this is the first one. And when you talk about strong, what you're talking about is ball screen, occupied ball side corner. Here's Strother, who's coming behind for the throwback three.
So his man has to either tag the roller, Drew Timme, or stay at home. It's an impossible ask. So now the design of the play, same play, first play of the second half, instead of him emptying there, notice what he does. Now it's trade. So now Pepperdine gets confused on who's got Timme. You don't want to leave Strother. And again, another great pass by Nembhard.
And again, I don't know this, but I just know in the middle of the floor, their recognition right now is Pepperdine is really hard showing on their guards. When you roll from the middle of the floor, it puts so much stress. And not only do you have to worry about the tag, now you have to tag from a great shooter, come and roll, replace high. He leaves early. Another layup.
All right. Again, back to Texas Tech. Let's give them the credit they deserve. And again, we're on set plays. Right now, Gonzaga knows that Texas Tech is switching. And that's one of the problems with Gonzaga's personnel. Both bigs got great size here, right? So you got to switch. Timmy's a hard guy to switch on. They roll Chet Holmgren high. He's a good passer and a skilled player. And it's just real simple. It's high-low basketball, foul. Very difficult to switch when you play them as well. But their set plays are designed to attack the basket. Now, this is a big concept in their flow, like we talked about. When Gonzaga likes to hit the roller, the person that sets the ball screen on the pick and roll, hit the roller, they cut. Well, this is a set play to accomplish the same thing. Gonzaga knows that Alabama is being aggressive. They're hard hedging on the side. So he just predetermines what he's going to do. It's a set play, quick bounce, but really the set play begins on the catch by Timme. And watch. Watson with a quick cut, layup. So anytime that you are aggressive on the side against them and they hit the roller, the threat is the cut. The roller becomes a passer. And that was actually a set play. Again, back to the clock. That's the media timeout of the fourth 4-minute segment of the first half. So they're coming right after timeout. They know Alabama's hard hedging. Throw it to Timme. 45-degree cut by Watson. Great basketball. Same thing. They know Alabama's aggressive. They throw it to Timme on purpose. He's such a good passer, but Alabama stays at home. So now he just plays one-on-one until they leave late. Look at that three-point shot that he got. Right? So when you talk about being the number one offensive team in America, and really for the last 4 years, they've dominated that category. They're so well coached. Their system is so in place. And the shots that they get, in my opinion, are better than the shots that any team in college basketball gets. And I think it's been interesting to watch Tommy Lloyd come to Arizona. And obviously he took over for me, but I don't have a problem giving credit where credit's due. They've implemented the Gonzaga system. And if you watch Arizona play right now, Arch, their 2-point field goal percentage is high. Their tempo is actually even higher than Gonzaga, and they're very efficient on offense as well. Maybe not as efficient as Gonzaga is, but they're in that same ballpark running almost a similar, if not exact system.
Yeah, in my opinion, you used to fear and be revered was the North Carolina Tar Heel secondary and primary secondary break. Dean Smith, known for 30 some years, playing an unbelievable tempo and makes and misses, numbered break. And that was 90% of what they do. Roy Williams then went to Kansas, and I think he may even have taken it to another level in the late 90s, early 2000s with those teams in terms of being unstoppable in transition. To me, Gonzaga is that new transition offense team, makes misses, where they are absolutely not allowing you to catch your breath, make or miss. And they're so fast into what they do. It's hard to say, hey, we're doing this on a ball screen, we're doing this on a handoff, because you're constantly all game long, it's on top of you. And right now, as it stands, to me, Gonzaga is like the premier running team in college basketball in terms of that. They used to even, you probably would even remember, they used to run like secondary actions, screen the screener, stagger away, and that slows you down a little bit. They are almost exclusive makes misses fast into what they call their flow or their ball screen, concepts. And
one of two things that you have to do to beat them, and it's easy to have the answer when you're talking on a podcast.
Yeah.
You have to have an amazing group of players and talent. 80% of the country is wiped out simply because don't underestimate the firepower and the good players and the experience that Gonzaga's roster has. But you have to slow down the rhythm of their break. I'm convinced. If you let them just play like they practice and it's at that speed that we just watched,
right,
they're so efficient right now that at some point in the game, they're going to break you down. I think you got to be able to slow down the inbound, give them different looks, give them the 3/4 court press on makes. You have to have something to be able to keep them off rhythm, zone man. And then the second part is in your ball screen defensive coverage, you have to be diverse. It's not just a fastball. When I used to coach against Gonzaga, and again, a lot of our games were pre-2019. They were really good, but I don't think they were as good then as they are now at their offense. But, we played them that one way, and it was like a 50-50 matchup. They won a few, we won a few. But if we were playing them now, you can't throw that fastball, meaning this is what we're going to do on defense. You're going to know it's coming, and we're going to do it for 40 minutes. There's got to be some diversity, whether it's after a timeout, whether it's playing different schemes against different players. And then you have to have that in your bag of tricks to do that in the game. That's not something that hey, we're playing Gonzaga, let's be different. It's how you have to play. And I don't know if we can count on one hand the number of teams that can do what I just said, but I do think there are a handful of teams that can. And it'll be interesting to see if anybody.
One thing's for sure, if you're going to beat them, you're going to have to be able to score a little bit.
That's the other part. Like talent-wise, like you watched Duke last night against Florida State, like Duke's going to score. They already scored against Gonzaga. They beat Gonzaga. Like they have enough talent, firepower on the offensive end to at least hold serve. I watched BYU Gonzaga, and that game took on the makings of a blowout. But if you can imagine this, Arch, BYU was right at 50 points at the half,
Right.
and it felt like they were getting blown out. So that's what I mean. It's not just offense. You got to be able to score, but you have to have some answers in slowing them down because they're not going to slow themselves down. That's the one thing.
Well, they went for 117, 110, and 115 in their first 3 WCC games. I would be shocked if they don't.
Let me tell you who they're not going to score 100 against.
Who?
St. Mary's.
We'll see. Right now, they're on pace to average about 110 a game in the WCC, and I'd say in the next 2 months they're going to set some records offensively for what they're doing. But they're a special offensive program. I mean, they really are. They have a good way about them.
Hey, Arch, point guard vision, right?
Yep.
Point guard vision. You know, we think this may be our fifth or sixth podcast, next play podcast we've done, but we started point guard vision in podcast number 1, and that was to maybe illuminate or bring to life a coach or a program or team that's under the radar, but, you know, is excellent in what they do. And, you know, those that we've chosen, and just to hold ourselves accountable, started with St. Bonaventure, and I think they're having a very good season. They haven't played as well of late.
COVID hit them. COVID hit them as well.
They're still going to be right there.
They're going to be right there to win the Atlantic 10.
Yeah. We've talked about St. Mary's. And St. Mary's is one of 2 or 3 teams in Gonzaga's conference that has a chance to get an at-large bid, and also has a chance to beat the Zags. It'll be interesting to see if anybody can.
13-4 right now.
They're an excellent defensive team, having a great season. We then shifted to more offense and talked a lot about Colorado State. And their season speaks for themselves. I know they hit a COVID pause as well, but they were one of the last undefeated teams. They're one of the best teams in a very good Mountain West Conference right now.
Yeah.
And did we choose San Diego State as well?
We haven't talked about San Diego State, and ironically, they're the first team to knock off Colorado State, but they went on pause. I think they get back in action this weekend, Saturday, but they've been off for about 2 or 3 weeks because of COVID, but they're the team. You know,
anyone else who? So that's
talk a little bit about Michigan State and how unprecedented the run that Coach Izzo's had, and they're back this year. They're having a great year. But I think today, the hottest team in the country right now. Do you know who it is? Davidson Wildcats. Davidson sits at 15-2, but they're on a 14-game win streak. 8 of those wins are away from home. And anybody who's known Davidson, played against Davidson, knows Coach McKillop, followed him. He's a fantastic, again, great offensive coach with a great system. Makes and misses, they run their break, but they filter into what I would call, 5-man motion concepts, very hard to guard. And the better shooting that they have, the harder they're to deal with. And Foster Lawyer transferred over from Michigan State. It's been a huge addition. He's averaging about 17 a game, 16, 17 a game. They're 13 on overall offense on the season in college basketball. They're shooting 42% as a team from 3, which is second in America. And they don't turn it over rarely. And their effective field goal percentage is top 5 in the country. And last night they won at VCU, and last Friday they won at Richmond to get the Richmond sweep. They sit at 5-0 in the Atlantic 10, and 14 wins in a row, 8 away from home. Davidson is primed for not only an at-large bid, but they're primed right now. They're heading towards a great seed, and Coach McKillop, he just stays after it with his deal and replaces player year after year with the skill level. And, to me, Davidson, what they've done this year right now, if you're not paying attention, you do not want to play them. Remember, they beat Alabama on that game right before a holiday when Colorado State got canceled. They went down there and beat Alabama, and everyone was like, wow, what a hard loss for Alabama. Alabama lost to Davidson, who hasn't lost since their 3rd game of the year, which is basically on November 18th, they lost to New Mexico State, who's really good, but they haven't lost since. And right now they're having an unbelievable year. They have a 6'7" do-it-all guard named Hun-Young Lee. And he's the player of the year in Atlantic 10 as it stands right now. Offensively, he's doing some incredible things. But Davidson Wildcats having a great season.
Steph Curry's program school coach, Bob McKillop. Point guard vision. So we'll hope they'll keep it up. And then I just want to just offer this out to the people that don't let people watch Stanford play home games, to the people that don't let UCLA and SC watch home games. Man, could you meet again? Is there any way we could let crowds go to Stanford, UCLA, and SC? Because it's just awkward when you look at every game and every sporting event, including the NFL playoffs right now, and you got these packed houses and the energy of the crowd. For those kids, team, I mean, for them not to be able to play in front of a crowd, man, my heart really goes out to them.
It's hard to
you and I,
believe. It's hard to believe that UCLA's players, USC's players would go 2 full years in college basketball without fans.
it's hard. It's hard. I mean, it was no fun last year, and that was our last year, that we coached, and you almost don't remember some of the games because it was so different. But let's hope that changes. All right.
Hope so. Thanks for today, and hopefully you guys get a little out of next play. Next week we'll be looking to bring some more to the table, and college basketball is off and running again. So good luck to everybody out there. Stay healthy, and we'll see you again soon.